I think you're what cool looks like. You're a good sport to go out every day and try to defend Bidenomics. It's like trying to defend a fungal infection. Bidenomics is really just paying more to live worse, isn't it?
Bidenomics first tried to address the pain that households were experiencing because of the pandemic and to help them survive it. Small businesses, households, people who had lost their jobs, to prevent the kind of scarring we saw after the financial crisis. And as the economy began to recover, and we quickly, of all advanced countries that experienced the pandemic, no country has done better than the United States in quickly having a labor market recovery, resuming growth, and we have the largest real wage increases of any advanced country. And then medium term, Bidenomics is focused on helping middle class families lead better lives, address the problems that they have, create jobs in areas.
You, Madam Secretary. Good try. These high prices are here to stay, aren't they? Let me amend that, Madam Secretary. These high prices caused by Bidenomics are here to stay, aren't they?
Well, the high prices were not caused by Bidenomics. We suffered a pandemic that resulted in severe dislocations.
Yes, ma'am, but if I could ask you, they're here to stay, aren't they?
I don't expect the level of prices to go down, but the rate of inflation...
So they're here to stay.
Well, some prices will be higher than they were before the pandemic and will stay higher, but wages have risen considerably, and the pace of price increases has now receded. Over the last 6 months, the measure of inflation the Fed focuses on has been running exactly at 2%.
But if your wages...
And wages are going up.
If you don't get a pay raise, you're screwed. I mean, there's a difference between disinflation and deflation. Y'all talk about disinflation, which I'm happy to have. Disinflation means inflation is going down. It means prices are rising less rapidly than they were. But that's a far cry from deflation, which means the level of these high prices caused by Bidenomics are here to stay. Here's what Jay Powell just said on February 4th. He said, he was asked the question, inflation is one thing, prices are another, and I wonder if there's any reason to believe that people will see the prices of things decline. And here's what Chairman Powell said. So the prices of some things will decline, others will go up, but we don't expect to see a decline in the overall price level. That doesn't tend to happen in economies, except in very negative circumstances. He's talking about a recession. It'll take a recession to get these prices down.
Well, we don't have to get the prices down because wages are going up, and a metric that is worth knowing is that the median American house worker
but let me stop
is
you. I'm
able
get cut off. You don't think we need to get these prices down? You think it's okay that bacon's up 20% under President Biden? Chicken's up 23.5%. Coffee's up 30%. Gas is up 44%. New cars and trucks are up 20% because people can't afford it. That's used cars because people can't afford a new car. They're up 24% under Bidenomics. You don't think we need to get these prices?
Wages are also up, and wages are up.
They're not up 24%. They're not up 27%. They're not up 23%. They're not up 31%.
I'm sorry, but what is...
People are really getting good at barely getting by because of Bidenomics.
Look, American households have many pressures on their budgets, and President Biden is devoted to doing what we can as an administration, whether it's health care costs, insulin copays, energy costs, to getting these prices down and to helping American households afford a decent middle class life. But what is true is that the median worker in the United States, if you compare today with 2019, can buy the same basket of goods with $1,400 left over to save or spend. So Americans, on average, are better off in spite of the fact that the level of prices is higher.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy.
Good try,
And
madam.
Senator
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the cash out. And guys, we know Kennedy is always going to bring the comedy. And Janet Yellen has definitely been cool, even though she hasn't been telling us the truth. But this is the only second time I've actually seen her reading off of a script. But we have Senator Kennedy going off of Bidenomics. And guys, we know this is nothing but the Hegelian dialectic. Doesn't matter whether it was Biden or Trump. Both of them was printing money. And Janet Yellen states these prices are not going anywhere. But then she slips up and says that the same amount of money you had in 2019, if you had $1,400, you'll be able to get the same amount of goods in 2024. That makes no sense whatsoever. But we know with blockchain and tokenization, we're definitely going to go through hyper deflation. We see China has been manipulating their currency for years, but in the fourth industrial revolution, we're going to be on a level playing field. And Janet Yellen was asked about Russia and China taking the United States spot. And we're clearly seeing it right in front of our eyes. All you have to do is look at China's Belt and Road. Look at all the countries involved. And then when you actually go and look at the central bank's bridge for CBDCs, you have all the major central banks working together. Remember, the fourth industrial revolution, a digital economy, is global. All these countries are working together, not competing. Remember, competition is only for the slave. If you work together, you all win. That's the hidden secret. Remember, 3 men are stronger than 1,000,000 men because those 3 men are working on the same plan. And those 1,000,000 men are going 1,000,000 different ways. But the NWO plants that jealousy, that envy. So therefore, the sheep can never get out their own way. But speaking of the Hegelian dialectic, we had Elizabeth Warren speaking about the big banks, the capital requirements. And we know the big banks are going to punish the small and medium-sized banks if they have to have more capital requirement. They already said they're going to be loaning out less for mortgages. Guys, remember, you own nothing, but you will be happy. And we recently had Elizabeth Warren and Jamie Dimon agreeing on cryptocurrency when we know JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon has been in crypto from the beginning. Remember, the Hegelian dialectic works every time, right along with the divide and conquer. And remember, the NWO caused the problem. Wait for the reaction and run in with the solution they had planned 10, 20 years ago. And we're clearly seeing it unfolding. First, they print all this money to cause inflation. Then they raise rates because that's the only way you can get inflation down, which is destroying the economy. And remember, we're in a fragmented world. They have to destroy this current global economy in order to bring in the fourth industrial revolution, where the robots, algorithms, and drones take the economy over, pay each other with crypto, and the sheep go inside the metaverse. Get that free money. But little do they know that money is programmable. Tell them what, when, when, how to buy, and they have 3 to 6 months to spend it, or poof, it's gone. And while they're in the metaverse, they're going to be downloaded, becoming nothing but data. And remember, if you download it, if you become data, you can be deleted. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, they want your mind, body, and soul. Because he knows, when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
I want to talk a little bit about Russia and China, particularly China. There is no doubt that they want to replace us as the world's economic leader. I mean, that's a given. It is also a given that they're not going to play fair. They never have, and I don't think they ever will. I am pleased that the FSOC is focused on ensuring that we have appropriate mitigation and response management in place. But it's awfully hard to protect against threats that aren't on our radar. So, Secretary Yellen, do we have a good enough handle on where these threats from our foreign adversaries are directed? And what are you seeing as far as threats are concerned?
Well, FSOC is really only concerned with threats to the U.S. financial system. Now, cybersecurity that could involve China. There may be artificial intelligence we've identified as a threat, but China poses a number of threats that the Biden administration and the U.S. Treasury are concerned about and attempting to address that would not be in the domain of FSOC.
Amen. But from a Department of Treasury standpoint, do you feel you have a handle on these threats and where they're coming from? Because they continually, as it applies to our financial system, military is another situation, cyber is another situation, but as it applies to our financial system, because if they can undermine it, take away our confidence in it, they've gone a great step towards achieving their goal.
Well, we are particularly concerned about cyber threats, ransomware, and AI.
Less than a year after 3 billionaire banks collapsed, another one, New York Community Bank, is now teetering. So we're just trying to make sure that these giant banks don't go broke and come back to the American taxpayer like they have done before to get a bailout. But the big banks like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citi, and Wells Fargo are fighting back hard against these capital standards. They've spent millions of dollars lobbying. They're even running ads during the NFL playoffs, claiming that if they have to be a little bit safer, it will somehow raise grocery prices for American families. In other words, they want us to believe that big banks are really worried about Americans' grocery bills. Nobody believes that. So the question is, what is this really about? The answer is profits. If giant banks have to hold back just a little more capital, that could bite into their buybacks and their executive compensation. In fact, Morgan Stanley recently said it out loud. The banking lobby is fighting to water down the capital rules so that these giant banks can create, quote, a significant increase in buybacks. Secretary Yellen, let me just ask, do you happen to know how much money the 4 biggest banks returned to their shareholders through stock buybacks and dividends over the last decade?
My guess is it's a large
It's
amount.
a lot of money.
I don't know the exact figure.
I actually looked this up. $630 billion. And do you know how much the average CEO pay at these big banks was in just 2022, just in that 1 year?
Yeah, I'm not sure. My guess would be around 30 million, but
it was 28 million. You're very, very close there. So higher capital requirements may mean fewer stock buybacks. It may mean somewhat smaller bonuses for the CEOs. These giant banks say that they will stop making mortgage loans if they have to hold a little more capital. But I got to say here, who can trust these guys? In 2020, Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan made big headlines when he pledged to make 40,000 mortgage loans to Black applicants. 40,000, that's a lot. More than 3 years later, how many loans have they actually made to Black applicants? 122. Yeah. So that's what this is all about. The biggest banks want to be able to push hundreds of millions of dollars out the door to investors and CEOs, while the banks take on more risks. And then when things go wrong, and they will go wrong, they want taxpayers to bail them out again. And they claim that if the Fed doesn't cave, people's groceries will cost more. I am sick of bailouts, and I am sick of banks that lie to the American people. We need stronger capital rules to reduce the need for bailouts, and I urge our regulators to finalize these rules as quickly as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a Treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.